Alright, so the truth is, I watch animated shows sometimes. I just usually don't feel like I need to make videos about them. Like, for example, I did watch The Owl House, and I really like it, but I'm just not going to be making a video about it. With this show, though, I kind of have to because something pretty awesome happened on Twitter. Jennifer Hudson guest starred in one of the episodes, and I made a post about it, and she responded to it. Normally, I wouldn't boast about that in a video, but it's Jennifer freaking Hudson. I worship the woman, so I had to. And then I was like, well, better watch the rest of the show so I can talk about it. Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, Season 1. So Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur is a new Marvel animated series. I think it actually airs on Disney Channel. I watched it on Disney Plus. They would drop a few episodes like every couple weeks or so. It takes place in the Lower East Side of New York, and it centers around Lunella Lafayette. She's a 13-year-old prodigy. She's just super smart. She loves science, and one day she's tinkering. She opens up a portal to somewhere, and a dinosaur comes through. So Lunella ends up teaming up with this T-Rex. They become superheroes, saving the LES from supervillains and destruction. And so here we go. Gotta say, this show's really fun to watch. People are just raving about it online because it does a lot of things right. I mean, it's a cartoon, so it can get away with a lot of things that it wouldn't be able to get away with if it were live action. Like, example, Lunella Lafayette, she's really smart, so she can just invent a gadget on the spot. That works in a cartoon, can't do that in live action. Also, Devil Dinosaur, just as a character. The dinosaur is completely sentient. He talks and growls like, and Lunella can completely understand what he's saying. Devil's the aspect of the show where I was like, okay, this is like the kid part, you know? Like the Disney Channel part, where kids will enjoy it because the dinosaur is like a big puppy dog. I should mention the character Casey as well. Casey's the best friend character who kind of acts as Moon Girl's manager. She manages all the social media stuff, makes Moon Girl famous. I like her though because she's the sassy one. She, to me, had like some of the funniest moments in the season because of her hilarious facial expressions. I'll touch on that when I touch on the aesthetic. I'm still on the characters right now. Although there's really just one more I feel I need to mention. I love this character, the Beyonder. The Beyonder is kind of a villain who shows up every now and then. He's this being from God knows where beyond time and space. And he'll show up to just mess with Lunella because he wants to learn about human beings. He's voiced by Lawrence Fishburne, who is also an executive producer on the show. So automatically he just steals every scene he's in. I just love that dude. He reminds me of the genie in Aladdin if he were just insane. That's kind of what the Beyonder is like. Have I sold you yet? Now, like I said, this show is all about the aesthetic. I love the design of the show. And you can definitely tell that, yeah, it was clearly inspired by Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I think the showrunners have actually come out and said that. But it really works for Moon Girl. Because here's how it'll normally go. Towards the end of any given episode, Moon Girl will be throwing down with a supervillain, and there'll be a big fight scene set to a killer track on the soundtrack, and it'll go into this kind of almost a dream kind of sequence. The colors will just get super vibrant. Again, you can't really get away with that in live action, but it's just so cool to watch. But it's not just the action sequences that are so aesthetically awesome. I mean, just any given dialogue scene. There'll be points where two characters are talking, and someone will mention something, and you'll see a little speech bubble with the thing they're talking about. Stuff like that, the little subtle details. I love stuff like that. It just makes it a lot more fun to watch. I just really vibe with it. I feel like you could watch this show on mute, and with all the aesthetics and the speech bubbles and everything, you'll still get the general idea of what the characters are talking about. That's genius storyboarding right there. And they do that throughout the entire season. I mean, this series itself, it's episodic for sure. There are 16 episodes in this first season. Right there, you're like, okay, there's gonna be, I mean, it's episodic. It's a kid's show, you know? It's not as serious as like The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, for example. It's that cartoon animated show that kids will watch when they get home from school. But what really impresses me about it is, and this is probably something that a lot of cartoons are touching on these days, but the topics that come up in the show, they're pretty mature. Another one of the big things this show does is there's a lot of representation in here, which these days I wouldn't normally touch on, but it's such a huge part of the show, I feel like I have to. There's an episode that touches on gentrification, and I feel like young kids who watch this, they're not really gonna understand what that is, but myself watching it, I was like, oh my god, that's real stuff. I really gotta commend the show for touching on that. And also the end fight in that episode in particular, super powerful stuff. That was like one of the best moments in the entire season. And this being an animated series, a lot of animated series do this. There are a lot of guest stars that come in, you know, just one episode. You got Allison Brie in the pilot. Maya Hawke is in one episode. I already mentioned Jennifer Hudson. The episode she's in is all about loving your hair. She plays Lunella's hair that has been given a life of her own after being separated from Lunella. And you would think, alright, that's just kiddie stuff. It's almost kind of dumb, but it's Jennifer Hudson, and this show with the aesthetic it's going for, it totally works. In fact, I actually connected personally to that episode myself. Because I've had people tell me that they don't like my hair long. They prefer back when it used to be short. And I've struggled with that, like, should I cut it again? Should I not? This episode taught me to love your hair is to love yourself. So you know what? I love my hair long. I love it as it is, and that's that. Great stuff. Other guest stars include Wesley Snipes. Yeah, Wesley Snipes shows up in this series. So yeah, a lot of big names here in this show. And also, this being Marvel, there are some references here and there throughout the season. And it's funny, the first big one we get is Sam Wilson, Captain America, showing up. We just see him from the back for a second. But with that, and then Lawrence Fishburne showing up as Bill Foster for one episode, reprising his role from Ant-Man and the Wasp, I was like, alright, in my head, this is now part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's my headcanon. But then, towards the end of the season, we have Maria Hill showing up as an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., once again voiced by Kobe Smulders. But since she was with S.H.I.E.L.D., I was like, oh, okay, so this is not the MCU. I can't have that in my headcanon anymore, because S.H.I.E.L.D. is still around. In the MCU, it's not. So, oh well, there goes that theory. Still like seeing her, though. Lastly, I have got to talk about the music in this show, because oh my god, is the soundtrack ever so awesome. I mean, even just the score, the background music, it is that lo-fi beats to study and relax to vibe, which again, totally works for the atmosphere and tone of the show. Whenever it cuts to commercial, we get a brief second of that lo-fi kind of music, and it's always a vibe. And then there are the killer tracks. There are songs featured in each episode, and they're all great too. The main intro theme of the show is awesome, by Diamond White, who voices Lunella. That makes sense. It's all fantastic. So in the end, I highly recommend checking out Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. The whole first season is on Disney Plus right now. It ends with a surprising cliffhanger, and it is renewed for a season 2, so that's coming. It's a very casual binge-watching show. If you just want some ambiance, just kick back and watch it, this is the show. But then beyond that, as an investment, it's also really good. It touches on a lot of important topics. The characters are great, the aesthetic is amazing, the music is fire. I really have nothing bad to say about this show, so check it out. Alright, so Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur Season 1. Have you watched it yet? What are your thoughts on it? And what's your favorite animated series of the past few years? I'll ask you that. Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And of course, thank you for subscribing. Now if you'll excuse me, oh my goodness, have you seen those wicked first look photos? I think I got my next video, so I think that'll be tomorrow. So I better start putting that together. Peace!